When we buy a new computer, we expect things to be working 100%. But what happens when companies use defective parts and sell them as budget for less money? You might be surprised, but that is exactly what Apple is doing with the M1 chip. Sort of. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So you can decide for yourself if you want to take that risk. Fact, when Apple is making the M1 chip, they are not making two types so they can offer the two tiers. They are in fact using defective chips in their less expensive machines. Should you be worried about this? Well, yes and no. Now, companies make so many of the same thing during a process that many of the items don't pass the rigorous testing, and instead of throwing them out, they figure out a way to use them somewhere else down the line. On one hand, this really isn't new in the world of tech, but this certainly isn't something that companies want to go out and advertise. Like seriously, you wouldn't hear Apple up on stage saying, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and sell you this iMac with the 7-core GPU for less because we've got a crap ton of defective M1 chips. And since we don't want to waste them, we're going to go ahead and sell them to you for less." Could something be wrong with them? Maybe. On the other hand, what else could be wrong with these chips if part of it failed during the process? I guess that's why we have warranties, right? Now, I know some of you are like,
"What the f? Why? This is bull."
You know what else is bull? 98% of you watching this video aren't subscribed. Am I doing something wrong? Go ahead and let me know down in the comment section. But if you do like tech videos that keep it simple, like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. So to reiterate what I just said, companies using faulty parts is nothing new. They have a common process that's called binning. All right, let's back up. Let's not go over our heads. We like to keep things simple around here. So let's go ahead and break out our dictionary. Binning is the process through which manufacturers of CPUs, GPUs, and RAMs categorize them according to their build quality and performance. Every single one of these that is manufactured will need to adhere to specific standards of performance in voltage, power consumption, clock speed, heat output, blah, 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 etc. So in simpler terms that I can understand, they have to pass a bunch of tests, and if they don't, then they get put into the reject box, or to be determined. Now, as a consumer, if I were to see this, I might be more likely to pass on something if it was known to me up front. Now, that's not to say anything wrong will ever happen with the product during the entire time I'm using it, but like many people say, including myself, you get what you pay for. So what do you think about this? Go ahead and definitely leave a comment down below, but there is a lot more to talk about. So I want to throw an example out to you all. You've got 99% of the people that are going to buy this machine and use it for surfing the internet, watching videos, maybe do some light work. But then you've got the 1% of people who can't really afford the more pricey machine, so they're going to go ahead and push this machine much harder. So let's go ahead and just break this down for a minute. You've got the baseline iMac with a 7-core GPU. Also, if you don't already know, this has one less fan and one less heating coil to help keep the machine running cool and quiet. So half the safety net has been removed for a chip that's still using 7/8 of the GPU. So we can assume the system can't ramp up as fast, and not just because it's short one GPU, but the system is now working with half the cooling system. Now, the software that you're using that's pushing this system really only cares about the minimum spec to run it. But now your computer will have to decide how to ramp up to handle the more taxing tasks. So your brand new defective M1 chip computer is being pushed hard, potentially harder than a good M1 to compensate for that one less GPU core. Worse yet, it has half the cooling system in place. Now this could be a recipe for disaster, with the extra heat potentially causing more issues on an already defective chip. Issues that may never show up until the machine is actually pushed to its limits. Now your new computer is being potentially throttled because of the limitations put in place. All of a sudden, that $200 you wanted to save has now extended well beyond not having those two extra ports, the Ethernet port, and that one less GPU. But again, could this mean more potential issues down the road for even the 99% who are just using the chip that already has one defect? In my opinion, this could be why maybe we often see a small number of people who get machines that just can't seem to work properly no matter what they do. And depending on how long this takes, the machine could be out of warranty. And this is how those online bitch sessions are created, depending on how big the person is when it happened. The bigger the person, the louder the crying. All for a process that is supposedly known by everyone? Translation: 3% of the nerds who think they're 97% of the audience. Now I'm gonna stop for a second because I don't want this whole video to sound like I'm just bashing companies like Apple because they're doing this. So let's take a look at this from the perspective of a business owner. You, for example, you make 30 million M1 chips and 3% don't make it through quality control. That means you now have 900,000 defective chips. Each chip costs $50 to make. So you're just gonna go ahead and throw out $45 million? That's a ton of money just to say cost of doing business. So let's assume of that 900,000 that 3% or 27,000 or $1.35 million is a total loss. You still have 873,000 chips. Now, instead of throwing away that rest of the $43.65 million, you can now use these chips as long as they're not pushed to what caused them to fail. All you need to do is sell them for less, not make much money as you previously thought, but you're not going to lose $45 million. All of a sudden, doesn't seem so bad. So at this point in the video, I hope maybe some of you had learned something new, like I did going through this. And maybe you didn't, but let's just assume that you may have learned Apple uses rejected internal parts, like most companies. Now, depending on who you ask, this is horrible. Never should be done. Oh my gosh, they are the worst. And others, not so bad.
I don't care.
But what if you could turn on that extra GPU and gain the full power for a cheaper price if it's still technically working? I mean, this is something unheard of from Apple. However, if I'm asking the questions, are there way smarter people that may have already been going through this process? And maybe you could tell me that that could never happen. Now, of course, it didn't take long for me to find some discussions of this very topic with many of the same questions that I was asking. Most of the talk was pretty well above my pay grade, but I was able to get kind of the gist of it. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details, just to let you know, I did find some stuff. I will go ahead and link those down below so you can check them out for yourself for some light reading or to fall asleep. Now, I have one other question that came up as I started down this path. Stick with me. What if Apple was able to manufacture one chip that has all of the max capabilities on it, and through the process they take the capable ones and through software lock down the amount of CPU and GPU cores available? Then you can pay less, have the option to upgrade later without having to purchase a brand new computer. And of course, the longer you wait, maybe the price drops a little bit. Now, I know on the surface this sounds absolutely stupid because we're so programmed that using a machine, you either upgrade the internal parts by buying them, like a PC, or Apple, which actually not Apple because now you can't upgrade anything after the fact, so you gotta end up buying a new machine. But hear me out. 10 years ago, when you bought a car, you could never imagine being able to pay for something else to upgrade the internal system. Now you have Tesla. All of a sudden, you buy the car, and now you can go ahead and pay for a fully automated driving after the fact. Does it stop there? I know Tesla does a lot of upgrades with their system to make your vehicle run better. Now you think of that and go, well, you know what? Why would Apple want to do something like that? Because they want you to buy a new computer. And I totally understand that. Now, my one reason why we may never see Apple doing this is the fact, and this is such a sore point when I bring it up, Steve Jobs is no longer with us. When it comes to pushing the envelope, we usually only see the creators or people who came up with the companies are the ones who are going to take this risk, a la Elon Musk and any other creator of a company that you can think of who has that larger vision. Do you agree or disagree with me? Go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know. We'll have a civil discussion. By the way, have you seen my thoughts on the next 27-inch iMac, or whatever they're going to call it? Go ahead and check that video out right here. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notification bells so you don't miss my next video. You guys have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.